Good evening and welcome to our usual Monday night rendezvous. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you watch this one. I think tonight we are going across the Facebooks, the YouTubes, the X's, the Getters, and the Rumbles. So we are across all platforms. So wherever you are, thanks very much for taking the time just to tune in for the next 60 minutes. Hello to my good friend Chris Davies. Chris, it's always a pleasure to see you there over on YouTube's. So the topic that I want to get into tonight should be the conflict between India and Pakistan. We'll get into that. Freddie says, "Are you live in Spain and Portugal?" Yeah, I should actually say to all my Spanish and Portuguese viewers, I'm sorry, but you really should know better. Freddie, we're going to talk about that. Hello to my great friend Donny Girl, all the way from Hawaii. Aloha, and my great friend Angela. I see you there as well, Angela. Great to see you too. So we got lots of stuff to talk about. We do have a guest planned to come on. But he hasn't arrived yet. So what I'll do, as is always my way, is I'll start off with the things that I want to chat about, and we'll see if he turns up or not. But regardless of which, we're going to have a fun time. Hi, Ken, by the way. Thank you so much for your kind comments. Appreciate all your kind words. All you folks, it does keep me going, in my moments of despair. I think about all the great comments and all the great people that I know, and it makes me double down. Now, if I lived in Spain or Portugal, we wouldn't be having this show, would we? And that's because they've had, well, what is it? The power's gone down, the grid's collapsed, and it's hilarious, actually. Oh, Chris Davies says he's off the Barcelona next week. I hope the power is returned. Yeah, I think it probably needs to, Chris, because I do believe that the Chad says he can make the lights go out. Yeah, we could do the Spanish Portuguese version of this. Just put the lights out, and then that's it. But it's interesting because as I wrote over on my Substack today, and I hope you've all signed up to my Substack, it's only let me think, a couple of weeks. Spanish were boasting about the fact they've gone 100% energy renewables. Yes, for the first time ever, I think about a fortnight ago, Spain, right? Spain, yeah, and out go the lights. There you go. Yeah, well, actually, yeah, go back up again. There's a good subtitle to that. Spain and Portugal go dark. Yay! So yeah, this was the news. It's they've been hit with these massive blackouts, and Portugal as well. And the thing is, they were boasting about the fact that they were 100% energy and renewables. Right? This is great. Take that, all you fossil fuel dinosaurs out there, right? Spain and Portugal knew better. They were going 100% renewables, solar, solar, wind, and I think a little bit of nuclear, maybe even, which we'll talk about in a second because there's things to worry about there. So they were boasting about it. It's fantastic. Probably Ed Miliband was smiling from ear to ear, although mind you, he normally smiles from ear to ear, doesn't he? Strange looking bloke. But anyway, they announced that about a week ago, and then today, vroom, just basically blackout. And why is that? Well, they don't know why it quite. They don't actually know exactly why it is, but there is one hilarious explanation that the Portuguese put up. I think it's in that article, Jed. I may have stuck it in to amuse myself. The Portuguese trying to explain the fact that basically their entire country's gone down. Right? They'd come up with the suggestion that the reason I don't think the actual clip's in it yet, but it's okay. The reason that the power's gone out is because of atmospheric conditions. What atmospheric conditions? What does that mean then? Oh, what do you mean atmospheric conditions? The sun was in the sky, which never happens in Portugal, does it? Really? I mean, I know people just back from holidays in Portugal. They went there for the sun. So they don't really know, I think, exactly what's caused it. But I would suggest to you that there but for the grace of God, go us. Because if Mad Ed Miliband moves us, which he said, yeah, Spanish authorities have you distributed. Well, this is funny. The Spanish said it was to do with cascading failure in the grid. Well, no, that's what the feature was, cascading failure. That isn't what caused it. What caused it then? And the Portuguese said that it was to do with the rare atmospheric condition. I mean, you got to laugh, haven't you? The sheer brass neck of these people. What do? They go down the renewables rabbit hole. Renewables this, renewables that, renewables the other. And as we all know, folks, the thing about that which they call fossil fuel, I dispute it's fossil, but anyway, it's reliable. It's totally reliable. Once you move from reliable to unreliable, you become Spain and Portugal. That's the truth of the matter. And of course, I'm surprised they haven't blamed Putin on it, by the way. Yeah, indeed, Mad Ed, who preaches the gospel of EVs and all of that, he hasn't got one himself yet. No, it's almost like he's a complete and utter hypocrite, as well as the most dangerous man in Britain, because I think he is. I mean, honestly, folks, we rely on doing this thing that we're doing at the moment. I need power. Jed in the studio needs power. You guys need power to watch this. If there's no power, there's nothing. Our society is built on instant power. Now, we've become very complacent about it, I suppose, and maybe in some ways life would be better if we didn't always have power. Yeah, Angela, severe weather, really severe weather they're getting down in Portugal. As I say, I have family just back from it. They told me it was very nice. Northern Monkey tells me it's climate change. Of course it is. And everyone knows that climate change is very, very real. And this actually proves, Northern Monkey, all the more reason for us to get rid of that reliable gas and coal power and instead go more renewable. And actually, we need to go even more renewable. I think that's going to be the lesson that they'll take out of this one. But no joke all the same for like your infrastructure. Have you seen any of the videos coming out of Spain and Portugal? I mean, nothing works really. You know, the traffic lights don't work. The underground doesn't work. You think about it. You don't always realize this. Jed said he had a flood alert. Oh well, Jed, you get more things to worry about than a flood alert. We're gonna tackle Serco's plan to essentially swamp the Northwest with lovely migrants, cross-channel migrants. So we will move on to that. But for the time being, Donegal says solar panels with no sun allowed. Yeah, that's right. So because you see, Donegal, here in the UK, we are so enlightened, if you'll pardon the pun, that we are trying to dim the sun. Yeah. Well, funny, Angela says here, glad I wasn't having an operation. I actually saw a comment from someone whose father was undergoing an operation in a Spanish hospital today. And when the power went down, they were no longer able to contact him. So they were panicking, thinking, well, what's happened with Dad? You know, he was going under the surgery. Had it taken place? Was it underway? Was it halfway through? How do you stop an operation? Was there a backup generator? Did it work? All this sort of stuff, you know, that you don't really think about till it happens. Chris Davey says the heat pumps won't work. No, actually, heat pumps never work. I mean, the only purpose of heat pumps, as far as I can see, is to get us accustomed to living in coolish conditions. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm someone who I like my heat. I have to say, I like heat. I like heat in my house. I like it in my car. I like heat. I'm cold-blooded or whatever, you know, the inner reptilian. But I do like I do like my heat. So the idea of a heat pump, yes, some like it hot. Well, actually, me and Marilyn Monroe like it hot. So which we wouldn't get if we had heat pumps. But anyway, so there you go. So Spain and Portugal are basically blacked out. Hi, James Jimison. Good to see you, my friend, as well. There. Now, I'll move on a little bit then, shall we? So we hope and pray that our friends in Spain and Portugal get their power back. Hello, Ms. Brexit. Jackie, great to see you. Thanks so much for being here on this Monday monologue, it appears you're going to have to put up with me for. Right. Kneecap. shall we talk a little bit about Kneecap, the lads from West Belfast? And I think, Jed, if you scroll through my Substacks, you'll see, I think I did, I cover so much, but I think I did cover them. So they're in deep, deep doo-doo, and you love to see it. You love to see it. So this bunch of clowns from the West of Belfast, here they are. Look at this. Take yourself. This is a rap band. Oh, don't they look so? Oh, they're so hot. They're so hard, aren't they? Oh, look at that. I'm so scared. Oh, I'm so scared of Kneecap. So these three clowns from West Belfast have, well, they've been given a punishment beating, if you pardon the pun. They've been kneecapped because it looks like their US tour is going to be pulled. And it looks like they're going to have all kinds of problems at home as well. But this lot, I mean, if you just scroll down a bit more, they specialize in being offensive, right? I'll show you an image. I'm not going to repeat what it says, but this is from one of their most recent concerts, right? You can see it as well as me. That's what this lot had to say. They have also talked about their support for Hamas, their support for Hezbollah. They agreed with the October 7th, but to the point, they are being investigated by counter-terrorism police over what appears to be pro-terroristic chants, including, and get this, and we just highlighted there, kill your local MP. What they actually said was, and I laughed at this, the BBC, right, get this one. Chris Davey says, can anyone name one song? No, Chris. No, because they don't do songs. They just make noise. But they actually said on stage, I think in London, that if I'll get the quote right now. If the Tories, the only good Tory is a dead Tory, kill your local MP. Their words, not David Vance's. Their words. Now, here's the thing. So that's incitement, by the way. Do you remember what happened early August of last year? Yes, James, the words rap and West Belfast should never go together. I have been in James in West Belfast. I've never heard anyone rap. They do other things. They don't rap, but this lot apparently do. But anyway, last August, you will recall, Keir Starmer was rounding up the people who protested the murder of the three little girls in Southport. Do you remember that? Those terrible murders. Those people were arrested, brought in front of a judge, and off to jail within 48 hours, some of them for 2 to 3 years. And what was their crime? Their crime was that they posted memes on Facebook that hurt somebody's feelings. That was what their crime was. Off to jail, no hesitation, right? And you know that's right. So what are we to make of this lot who openly on stage praised terrorist groups and suggested to murder your local MP if he was a Conservative, presumably? I mean, to me, that's cut and dried. Cut and dried. I noticed they've been dropped from a Scottish music festival. John Swinney, the First Minister in Scotland, has dropped them, which must have broken his heart. But what's happening in England then, I want to know. You know, it's time England really took a grip. But of course, Starmer is so spineless, so absolutely spineless that, you know, he probably wants to, I don't know, nominate them for a music award or something. You know, James Jameson says they suit the balaclavas. Oh, the balaclavas are so scary, isn't it? I mean, the thing about this is, for those of you watching this who come from where I come from in Northern Ireland, you know, we've had enough of balaclavas, thank you very much, over the decades, and some very, very bad memories with balaclavas. But this bunch of, you know, burly, pubescent clowns don't think, oh, we're so frightened, we've got our Irish tricolor balaclava on, we're coming to get you. So I want to see two-tier Keir get off his ass and urge that these people, the police, arrest them, bring them to the court, see what the judge says, and if guilty, off the, you know, don't you agree? I mean, they did it for much less. There's people languishing in jail, and their only crime was they got very annoyed about the murder of 3 girls, young little girls. You know, that was essentially what drove them to post maybe injudicious, maybe not, content on Facebook, and but no mercy for them, straight off. So if you get up on stage and say, kill your local MP, what is that? Tell me what that is, if that is not prima facie incitement. And I don't really know what more to be said about it. James McCambridge says here, Lucy Connolly was jailed for less. Indeed. I mean, the treatment of Lucy Connolly was atrocious by two-tier care. So I think that if you want to avoid being called having two-tier justice, then kneecap need to be sent straight to prison. Basically, don't let their feet touch the ground on their way. I tell you what, put them in the next cell to Tommy Robinson. Why don't you do that? Because the Ted says the only rap they'll be doing now is wrapping Christmas presents. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with kneecap. I mean, they've scored an own goal because James, I'll come to your point in a second. The US has, I think, revoked their visas. Because one thing, especially under the Trump regime, you don't get into the United States if you are a vocal supporter of terrorism and terrorists. Hamas is terrorists. They're a terrorist group. That's simple. I know kneecap are very excited about them. So I don't think that kneecap, I think they've just kneecapped themselves in the States. And I think even in Scotland, Swinney has had to sort of intervene and say, well, we're not having them perform in Scotland. Starmer needs to now put them in prison in England or in Northern Ireland. I'd like to know, where's the Northern Irish government in this one, by the way? Where's Michelle O'Neill? Is she back from her pity fest at Rome to pay sympathies to the Pope, whose moral teachings she absolutely diametrically opposed? Oh yeah, you see, Michelle O'Neill, our first minister, she went to Rome last week for the Pope's funeral, and it was a very moving experience, because he was a spiritual leader. She kept telling us, yeah. So Pope Francis opposed abortion. He opposed, gay marriage. These are things, and obviously the whole LGBT thing, and these are things that she very much believes in. So I'm sorry, cognitive dissonance 101. But James Jameson did make a point here, and that is never admit guilt. And that was what happened to those poor folks last August. In September, a lot of these people had never been in trouble with the law. All of a sudden, the police come around to see them, and they're panicked, and the police are whispering in their shell, like, well, if you admit that you're guilty, you'll probably get off with a much less severe sentence. And then they were put in prison for a couple of years. I mean, honestly, the state of the British police fills me with despair. I don't know what I spent my whole life, decades after decades, supporting the police in what I often thought was a very difficult job. But maybe it's the way they've been politicized and whatnot. And by the way, for my Scottish viewers, did you see the Scottish police inspector who was begging more Muslims to join the Scottish police? Oh, I bet. Oh, well, that's going to work out really well. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with that one? Anyway, the kneecap, I think, have basically possibly pushed the envelope too far, and we'll see what results come from it. But anyway, moving on, as is my way. Moving on, Putin. Oh, that Putin, he's a monster, I tell you. He wants to invade the whole of the world, probably given half the chance, except he just called a ceasefire from, I think, general talk about blue suits. We will talk about blue suits. We can talk about blue suits in a second. Blue suits at the Pope's funeral. We'll get to that. But back to what I was saying, I've forgotten what I was saying. Actually, blue suits has unhinged me. Okay, blue suits, Pope funeral. Very momentous moment for my Roman Catholic friends. Fully get that. I didn't get to see much of it myself. Saw the highlights of it. The main thing that I saw was the blue suits. Oh my God, Donald Trump wore a blue suit. Yeah, everyone have a look at the image on screen. See if you can spot the proliferation of blue suits. Prince William was there. He was wearing a blue suit. There was blue suit after blue suit, and there was black suits. Donald Trump, and actually, Jed, if you scroll down, And this is, yeah, Jed says there's 19 people there. So what did the scum media do? What did the scum media do? Well, let's look at Fortune magazine here. They took an image and they cropped it. There you go. Oh, look at that. Donald Trump sitting, showing disrespect in his blue suit, and everybody around him is wearing a black suit. So that's, how no matter how much you hate the mainstream media, I keep telling you this, it's never enough. You can never hate them enough. Uh, this no, also, I don't believe that the Vatican asked people to wear black suit. I don't believe that, by the way. I think that's made up. But not, of course, it wasn't just Donald Trump who didn't wear a black suit. There was one other chap, wasn't there? Who's this guy here? Oh, look, it's our favorite grifter, all the way from Kyiv. There we go. Zelensky, and he put on a sort of black version of his military attire as he cosplays at being some kind of military leader, which always makes me laugh. Chris Davis here is expressing his concerns about how good a Pope Pope Francis was. Yeah, I mean, look, I have issues with him as well, Chris. I hope that the next Pope will be Pope Sarah. I wrote an article on that. Pope Sarah would be very good. Traditionalist, conservative, probably no chance in the back of that, mind you. From Africa. So he's a colored guy. He seems to hold sound views. Whether he can get into position as pontiff, I have no idea. But I see they've announced that the conclave is going to be, yeah, Angela fatigues. I know it's clown world, isn't it? The conclave, I think, is next week or whatever. The cardinals all get together. And the thing about that is that 88% of the cardinals have been appointed by Pope Francis. So you can read into that whatever you will. I also did stick up, but for those of you who are fascinated by conspiracy theories, and some of you are, I did put an article out on my Substack concerning, it was actually brought up in the live stream that we did last Thursday night, and it's to do with the prophecy of, I've called it the final Pope. There you go. I'm going to read it out. But if we scroll down, according to this prophecy from, I think it was Saint, I'm trying to get his name. Oh, I can't read it. But I think it was Pope Malachi. Yeah. So, sorry, or Bishop Malachi. Saint Malachi he became. But anyway, he did this. He wrote these kind of predictive verses, and basically going on what he said. Now, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but there's two more popes to go before Judgment Day. The one that they're going to elect next week, and the one that comes after that. And that's what the prediction would say. Angela suggests that racist smoke. Maybe it'll be rainbow smoke. Have you considered this? Because the black and white smoke is going to so annoy David Lammy. It's going to annoy Humza Yusuf. I mean, these guys are going to be enraged when they see that black smoke or white smoke. So maybe in these enlightened times we will have rainbow smoke. But James, I know the story about I've covered it actually. The time traveler called Baron Trump. Will he be the last president? Oh, yeah. Who knows? Who knows, James? There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamed of in your philosophy. To a little bit of Hamlet thrown in there, by the way, for the more erudite amongst you in terms of Shakespeare, who was Edward de Vere. So we also saw, going back to the point that Jed knocked out of my head, Putin say he's going to have a ceasefire for 3 days, and he's asked Zelensky to respect that. So what do you think? Do you think Zelensky will go with that? What do you reckon? I don't suppose that he can really avoid it, but it's clear to me that Zelensky doesn't want a ceasefire. The Europeans don't want a ceasefire. The only people that I think want a ceasefire and an end of the war is Russia and Trump. That's who wants an end to the killing. And the difficulty is the little Ukrainian bit. But I also think that, did you see the image of Donald Trump sitting in the Vatican? Did you see the picture of him sitting in a chair with Zelensky? That was quite an image. Trump and Zelensky. I mean, the thing about Donald Trump, someone has pointed this out, and it is true. He takes really iconic images, doesn't he? I mean, the fight, fight, fight image. I mean, that's going to be historic. That'll survive long after he's gone. And that image of him sitting down with Zelensky, and apparently, I don't know if you know what happened, was that Macron tried to bully his way into the little meeting, and Trump basically said to him, "No, you're not supposed to be here." That's what Trump said to Macron. In other words, go away. We don't need you here. And so Trump and Zelensky had a one-on-one, nobody else there. And I think, for me, that was probably Trump explaining to Zelensky that, look, this time, there's no way out of this one. You're going to have to agree to a ceasefire. You're going to have to agree to terms that you're not going to like. And Russia's made it plain what the terms are for a permanent ceasefire. They keep the territory that they've won, which is basically Donbass and the Crimean Peninsula. Now, the Crimean Peninsula was Russian about, I think, 1785. I mean, the Crimea has been Russia for hundreds of years, up until 1954, whenever Stalin did a strange move. And even then, when Ukraine stood aside from Russia, it was still a Soviet republic, if you know what I mean. So for Zelensky to say, no, Crimea, always be Russia, always be Ukraine, rubbish. So that has to go. So he's lost Crimea. The Russians need Sevastopol. They need that Black Sea port, obviously. Chris says, I hope he's put some money aside for a rainy day. Zelensky, yeah, a few billion, I think, maybe, Chris, because he still has trouble accounting for the last figure I saw was it 89 million's gone missing. And James is right. Nobody was talking about peace before Trump came along. Exactly. Chris Davies says, Brigadier Julia Hartley Brewer of the First Talk Radio volunteers says that he will march his troops into Poland. I mean, this is so insane, isn't it? This is what bothers me. The Europeans don't want there to be a ceasefire. Zelensky wants the grift to keep going. And the British media, which is honestly so awful. I mean, my role in life is to oppose the British media, really. They think, oh, Putin, if we don't stop him right now, before you know where he is, he's going to be one moment in the Donbass, and the next minute he's going to be in Brighton. That's what they would have you believe. And it's a psyop, obviously, because Putin has no intention of doing any of that. No intention whatsoever. I mean, I have to say, I put more confidence in Putin than I do in the European Union, than I do in Keir Starmer as well. Even though Keir Starmer was still trying to, claim credit for anything that does come out of it. As Chris says here, it's 1,000-year-old land dispute. Yeah, actually, it's not our business, really. I mean, I've said it before and people get annoyed, but I'll say it again. I don't care. I don't really care. I do feel bad about the loss of life. And that's why I support President Trump in stopping the loss of life. Totally, 100%. I mean, isn't it interesting? It took Donald Trump to get involved, as has been pointed out here, for to get the at least the possibility of peace. Up until that point, under Biden, it was death machine, kill as many young men as possible. I mean, I think Trump said it yesterday, didn't he? The fields of Ukraine are covered in body parts. That's what Trump said. And Trump is right. There's been so much killing, so much slaughter. I was watching a thing about drone wars. And of course, technology has changed. Yes, Chris, the meat grinder, but tech has changed. And, warfare, it's not really tanks anymore. It's not even necessarily aircraft anymore. It's drones, kamikaze drones, reconnaissance drones, AI-driven drones. It's that this war this Russia-Ukraine war has moved us into a field of conflict, the likes of which we've never fought, we've never experienced before. It means like, this notion of going over the front. Well, yeah, you're going over the front, but you're not going to be meeting someone running at you with a rifle. It's not 1914 anymore. And it's not going to be someone in a tank. It's not 1939 anymore. It's a bloody great drone, which is watching you being flown by some kid, probably some 18-year-old who's taking a break from playing Space Invaders. And he's able to, on the basis of the technology advances, just kill without mercy. I find I find drone technology from a warfare point of view awful. James rightly points out, yes, Russia basically won the war 2 years ago. It achieved its military objective. Yeah, broadly speaking. And I think that the only thing that kept Zelensky going was Joe Biden, who wanted to keep the conflict going. But now that Donald Trump's in the White House, it honestly, this stuff is coming to an end. Like, we will not be talking about this in 6 months' time. It might take a few more months to get to where we want to get to. Northern Monkey says, Brigadier Field Marshal Julia Hartley Brewer's Home Guard will be the last line of defense. Yeah, God forbid, when them Ruskies land on the southern shores of the UK, it's going to be Julia and the gang, the proverbial dad's army of 2025 meeting them. Although, mind you, if they land on the southern shores of the UK, it might be interesting because they could bump into one of the thousands and thousands of migrants, which brings me nicely on. DY 33433 says Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson signed with Russia back in 2022. Yeah, absolutely. You're dead right about that one there. The only reason to keep this going was the grift, financial grift. Chris says, what's going to happen to Zelensky? Will he be exiled to, I don't know, Argentina? Isn't that where a lot of the Nazis went? They went to Argentina, I think. But I don't know. How he might have an accident. Accidents will happen, Chris Davies. And one thing about globalists, once you've outlived your role, things happen. That's all I would suggest to you. Things happen. But anyway, we shifted along a little bit. But Okay, this is a good one. I'm looking forward to this one on Thursday night as well. Did you see Serco's list? Did you see Serco's list of all the migrant locations that they're hoping for to use in the UK? Have you seen? This has been a real damage limitation by the Starmer regime, and this has great significance for my producer Jed, because Serco, who do a lot of the housing of the illegal migrants who shouldn't be housed, who should all be sent back home on the next boat. In fact, they shouldn't be allowed to land. They should be turned around. They shouldn't even get that far. But anyway, that's not how it works. They come here and they're instantly given food and a nice blanket and free accommodation, obviously, and then moved somewhere nice. So Serco produced a map. That's SERCO. Serco produced a map of the locations in the UK that they intend to house these people. Well, if you live in the northwest of England, and if you live in Lancashire, oh dear, you're going to be getting a lot of migrants, because if you look at the map that they released, which the government has now had to pretend, oh no, this isn't our list. This is definitely not our list. And anyway, yes, and Angela, chocolate hobnobs as well. Yeah. And no doubt cream cake to ease their suffering. But the map of the locations that Serco have released was really, really quite devastating. It was like the northwest of England and the Midlands. That's where all the migrants are going, right? And it doesn't look good. Like, I think to a neutral observer, you'd think, oh my God, what are you doing? Someone described it nicely. England is being ceded. The north of England is being ceded. And that's the truth of the matter. if this happens. The government have come out and said, "Oh no, this isn't our map. Definitely not our map." Yeah, here it is. So look at this. Uh, the Serco migrants by county, by English county, and you can just see, look, the concentration you can see up in the northwest there. See all the red. That's sort of Lancashire. And then you go down, there's a bit more in the Midlands, not so much elsewhere, virtually nothing in the south of England. Maybe that's because it's already full of them. I don't know. But like, as I point out, if this goes ahead and these all do become migrant centres, and this is Serco's map, like, the government's sort of saying, oh, no, it's nothing to do with us. Wow. It's everything to do with the government. What they did is this, Serco, for whatever reason, published this. And now the government's doing a retreat saying, no, it's definitely not our plan. You can trust us. Well, I mean, seriously, is there anybody watching this who believes a word that Keir Starmer, two-tier Keir says? Because I sure as hell don't. But this is going to be devastating. And as I say, Lancashire, they're getting 14 migrant centres. 14. And then it does drop down. You can see it there. You can read it for yourself. Greater Manchester is getting 10. And yeah, you can see the numbers. I mean, the truth is nobody should be getting any of them. And this is an indication, by the way, that the government has absolutely no intention of stopping the tsunami of illegal migration. Winston Churchill's grandson, you're dead right, Fatty Soames, is involved. I don't think he owns it, but he's a role for definite. Yeah, quite an irony, isn't it? Winston Churchill fought to save Britain from being overrun, and his grandson works to make sure we're overrun. That's how inversion works. Those of you who follow me understand that. James says they're all single fighting age men. Yeah, that's total coincidence. Angela says Mosted in Manchester, now known Mogadishu. Yeah. But this is the point. Like, it's bad as it is, right? But if you look at that map and you just imagine that every one of those red blobs on that map, just imagine every one of them is now, I would say, not so much a location, more of a base camp. I would choose to use the word. It's like a base camp for the fighting age young men who have come here across the channel via the dinghies. And it indicates to me that what Starmer wants to do is bring him into the south of England, and then, I don't know, bus them up to, or however they transport them, to the north of England, northwest of England particularly. And like, Liverpool's going to get some of them, as if Liverpool doesn't have its own problems. And it's not as if these regions don't actually have problems to start with anyway, because they do. I mean, it's not as if there's zero migration in these areas, but this is going to be additional migration on top of what we have. And then I would turn around to you and say, so what happens public services in all those areas that you've just seen on the map? Doctors, schools, all these areas, they are going to be overwhelmed. But it doesn't matter, because Serco are getting 9 million a day. Ka-ching. And yeah, I mean, if you follow the money in this, it always becomes obvious what's happening. It becomes so obvious that it's a grift, but it's a grift at the expense of the indigenous British people. I mean, I'm not sure how the people of Lancashire will feel when, the diversity arrives. And even where I live here in Northern Ireland, there are some migrant hotels. We do have some migrant hotels. So even here, which is a much less diverse area where you probably live, we've got them, and there's questions to be asked about what goes on. But it's the same modus operandi used by Serco, used by Jed says, I could tell you, but we would get the lights turned out. Yeah, we go all Spanish. So, yeah, we can't tell. We maybe talk about it Thursday, though, whenever we're not. Chris says he lives in Lancashire. Inshallah, my friend Chris, inshallah. Good for you. I hope you'll enjoy the diversity when it arrives. But so these, these landlord companies like Serco, they get a fortune. Absolute fortune. People are, and it's the same in Ireland, by the way, in the Irish Republic. There's people earning millions every year from providing their hotel, handing their hotels over to the government, who then house the migrants. Uh, it is like it's the invasion of the British Isles. That's how I see it. I don't think that's hyperbole because the numbers are like immense and the demographic change will accordingly. I saw a video of a little place that probably no one's heard of called Carrickmacross, which is in the other side of the Irish border, and I think I've stuck it up on my X feed. It was a newly arrived person with a big knife, not maybe not a machete, but a large knife, wandering along the main street, as you do, as you do. And all I would say to those of that map that I showed you, the Serco map, every one of those locations could potentially become similar. Um, James says, I could tell you stories about the refugee crime in Aberdeen, from muggings to alleged rape. Yeah, I mean, well, we have on the record cases of and great criminality, and it's not surprising really because all these countries, the people fleeing these countries, it's not. Yeah, here, look, here's a video. Look, this is a little Irish town. This is the main street. This guy, he's wandering along, and you can see in his hand he's got a knife. That's Ireland, 2025. But it could equally be Birmingham. It could be Liverpool. It could be certainly could be London, couldn't it? And it is shocking that this is where we are. But there you go. That's what the Irish government are absolutely proud of. That's why the Irish government are absolutely bleep scared of Conor McGregor. They don't like that. And there was a rally in Dublin that took place on Sunday. And there was a lot of people attended it. And I know some people have said, well, what does it really mean? Well, what it means is that just like in the UK, there's some Irish people sick of it. They really are sick of it. They might know exactly what the right thing to do. But Jeff says, he's a nice local lad. Yeah, he's a nice local lad. Yeah. He's one of the Abadalis of Carrickmacross, a well-known local family. They'll go all the way back to Brian Boru, but just after direction to the hospital to start a shift early. Yeah, he's probably a doctor, Chris. Yeah, could be neurosurgeon, perhaps. And that's what I mean, did you see Sadiq Khan gaslighting us yesterday, saying that, by the way, the diversity, it is our strength. And if you say diversity is our weakness, it's hate speech. Sadiq Khan, he said that yesterday. I mean, hello? Have you seen the absolute state of London? And Sadiq Khan is gaslighting us by saying the more we need more diversity, basically. It's just not enough. And Angela says, what I think about Conor McGregor. Well, Angela, I know there's downsides to him as well. I get that. I do understand that. But some of the things that he says are fair enough. And probably more than that, he says things which many other Irish people will feel. I do think that. So how far he goes, I don't know. He'll not get to be president or anything like it. But Ireland needs to throw off the shackles of the globalist politicians that are in control of it. And so do we. That's one thing that unites the UK and Ireland. We need to get rid of all of the globalists. They all have to go because they're destroying us now. Chris Davies says, any up news on the car attack? Oh yeah, was that the car that suddenly started attacking people in Vancouver? Yeah, I saw that. I couldn't believe the headlines. It actually says car attacks crowd. And I think I did put something out about it at the time. No car has ever attacked anyone unless you've got, a rogue Tesla, self-driving Tesla, which it wasn't. No, it was a car was driven into a crowd and it killed, sadly, a lot of people. And so, the media always play this game. It's a car attack, and it's not. It's a car is used to attack people and kill people. We see it in Germany. We see it now in Vancouver. The media is very, very quick to tell us, by the way, very quick to tell us that it wasn't an act of terrorism. It was mental illness. Angela's right. 9 people dead, 9 lives taken by an absolute lunatic. I saw images of the car. Now, again, I'm not attributing motive because I don't know motive. But what I know is for 100%, the car didn't drive itself. The car was driven. Why can't they be honest with us? Why can't, yes, Donny girl, what an evil car. Chris says, was it a choir boy from Wales? A lot of choir boys from Wales being spotted at the moment. It's almost like we're memeing the establishment's lies. Of course, having said that, a meme will get you into potentially into prison. But yeah, so Sadiq Khan anyway was trolling us all to tell us that um, fundamentally diversity is really good for us. It really helps us. And if we bring more people in, we're going to get lovelier and lovelier and lovelier. Funny how it doesn't work the other way, isn't it? It's funny how, the third world comes into our country. Not too many people from our countries going into the third world. Why do you think that might be? Oh, yeah, because, yeah. So anyway, so that was another story. Then I'll tell you what I wanted to also to talk about, because I thought it was interesting. One of the biggest lies that the Labour government has been putting about is the fact that they're going to build 1.5 million houses. Did you see that? Angela Ganya told us that she's going to build 1.5 million houses herself, if necessary. That was a key Labour pledge. And now do you see all the stories coming out where apparently she's on suicide watch because, yeah, not laughing at suicide, but she knows that it's not going to happen. They can't hit the 1.5 million target by 2030. It's not going to happen. So apparently the rumor, the gossip mill would have us believe that she's threatened or she's contemplated resigning. Nah, she hasn't. But she knows that she's been sold a pup. She knows that Labour will never build 1.5 million houses by 2030. I mean, that's only 5 years left. And at the moment, they're not even, I think, doing 200,000 houses a year, not even that. So there's no chance of 1.5 million. And there never was. I think the problem with politicians is they lie effortlessly. You know, the way you and I don't? Well, they do. And then when they're caught out, they'll just sort of spin it around and say, well, we've made every effort. And anyway, I have to say, I'm sort of quite glad that Angela Rayner isn't going to build 1.5 million houses. Why is that? Exactly. She's not resigning. She wants the grift to keep going as well. Of course she does. Dead right. But the 1.5 million houses, I fear, would go to migrants. Yeah, that's a really good point from Angela. They're building in floodplains. I mean, absolutely. And how do they get insurance if you build on a floodplain is what I'd like to know. Because, nowadays, I mean, if you'd even put in an extension on your property, they'll ask you to let them know how close are you to a river. What's your proximity to a river? So Chris says house building in England is off the charts. They're just very expensive houses. But no, Chris, it's all social housing. I mean, that's an oxymoron. Social housing. The government's going to build affordable housing. Well, how? By definition, every house is affordable to someone. Yeah. So I don't get it. I don't understand. What does affordable housing mean then? Does that mean you build a house for, I don't know, let's take a figure, 250,000, and you sell it for 100,000? I mean, you just out affordable housing? What is affordable housing? Do you sell the property below its value? And if you don't, how is it affordable? And I've argued that, again, it's like so much, but the Conservatives were as bad on this as actually Labour. Affordable housing is an oxymoron. It's an absolute oxymoron. James Jameson says, if we deported and repatriated, we'd have plenty of houses. I think India has the right idea. Yeah, I think India does. It's a pity our Indian friend didn't turn up tonight, but I have been talking about that actually, the whole India-Pakistan conflict. And it's one of these things. I've always been very pro-India, right? Mainly because I think they do integrate here in the UK and they do contribute. They create jobs. I've gotten to know lots of great Indian folks. I'm not saying there's not some good Pakistani folks, but they're a bit thinner to find on the ground. Okay. All right. So obviously, I want to read Chris's comment. I work for social housing. They built 100 houses and we get 10. The builder gets the rest. Yeah, it's all a scam. It's all an absolute scam. Social housing, and the price is probably built in then as well to the other 10 that the builder gets, I would imagine. So I could imagine the financial model, but yeah, I mean, look. I think the point about repatriation is the right idea. If we didn't have these vast numbers of people coming here, but I've got bad news for you. If you think it's bad now, in just over what 2 weeks, it's going to be worse, because once we get the local council elections and the Westminster by-election out of the way, our care is going to announce the European Youth Mobility Scheme. Don't worry about it. Kids, I think it's anyone under the age of 35, basically living in the EU. If they fancy coming here from wherever they are in the EU, well, they'll be able to come along and do the jobs that Brits just won't do. They're actually spent, and Stormer knows. I mean, it's a betrayal of Brexit. We all know that, right? And he knows that we know that. So he wants to do it after the elections. So between now and the election, which is what, Thursday, he has to beat his chest and act all tough. We're getting tough on the illegals, and we're going to smash the gangs. Again, I mean, have you ever known a government that gaslights as much as this one? Because I don't. I absolutely don't. Everything this government says, everything, just it's flimsy. There's nothing there. It's will o' the wisp. 1.5 million houses. Nah, it's not going to happen. Smash the gangs. Nah, that's going to happen. Do a great trade deal with the US. I don't think that's going to happen either. So, the truth of the matter is that we've got a government that's living in its own fantasy world. And the only thing that's keeping it there is the rotten, corrupt media, British media, which plays the game. And that includes GB News, by the way, who are currently hyping up the fact that, and this is a public service announcement I'm about to bring you. Apparently, we're going to have a couple of nice days of weather from tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday. It's going to be a nice couple of days, right? So GB News and all have been coming up with this, scary, heat wave, quick, stay indoors, do not go out, protect yourself, hide in the cellar. That's the sort of stuff that, well, maybe I've made up, the hide in the cellar a bit, but, the notion that it's going to get nice for a couple of days, great. We need more sun. That's why they're trying to dim it, actually. Sunlight's good for us. But dimming the sun is certainly not good for us. But they're hyping up this whole, oh my God, 2 days, it might get to 22 degrees. Oh no. Well, I mean, that's it. Just, I don't know, put a sheet around yourself and stay indoors, lest the solar, the sun gets you. James says, James Jameson, 100% David, they're media gatekeepers. Yes, they are. I mean, if there was any critical thought being used whatsoever in the mainstream media, it would be a miracle. Angela says, 23 degrees. I lived in Malaysia. I know you did, Angela, for 18 years, 28 to 32 all the year. Yeah. I mean, I love warm weather. Frankly, I was born in the wrong country. I mean, I should be living in Malaysia or Dubai. I like Dubai, where it was regularly 40 degrees, sometimes got to 45. Mind you, you can't stand that. I mean, that is warm now. That is warm. But then again, it's the desert. So what do you expect? But here, 22, 23 degrees, and we're supposed to be going, no, that would be lovely. And I would suggest, hopefully, people go out and enjoy nature and enjoy the environment. Donegal tells us we've got an active volcano on the Big Island blocking out our sun now. The fog makes me sick. Yeah, we see you do have your volcanoes over there, Donegal. That's right, I know that. In the Hawaiian island chain. We can only hope that. But then, I mean, it's not active all the time, is it? I think, Donegal. I think it has moments where it's worse than others. James Jameson says 22 is lovely weather. James also says 50 is too much. Yeah, I don't want to be 50 degrees. I'm pretty confident it won't hit 50 in Aberdeen or Manchester, or God forbid, Liverpool or Manchester, where it always rains. It'll be interesting to see if it doesn't rain in Manchester tomorrow. Angela, you can let me know what the story is. But we have this hyping up everything. It's all about climate change. And so whatever, they turn every story. I'm old enough to remember when the meteorological office rather, just gave you the facts. And that's all we wanted. Meanwhile, in Hawaii, their volcanoes exploding or spewing out lava. Yeah, but Donny girl, what about the carbon emissions? Have you considered the fact that Hawaii, big island, it's destroying the world? Because the amount of CO2 that I mean, on a serious note, these volcanoes around the world, they emit vast amounts of CO2. Meanwhile, we're being asked to basically give up our post-industrial revolution lifestyle so we can reduce our CO2. But the volcanoes will keep going. You know, the ocean will still keep emitting the CO2 that it does. So, yeah, James says, yeah, 50, no chance of 50 degrees. And maybe if it was minus 50 in Aberdeen, you might get that. And yeah, the institutions have all been captured. That's why I like to do this, because I don't know about you, but I find it so wearisome if you listen to the mainstream media. You know, every story's completely twisted. Everything they do. I'm at the point where I basically don't want to listen or hear any of it. It's not good for my health. Here on the more free speech platforms, at least we can have a proper chat about things. Angela's looking to sit down with some lovely bugs for tea. Imagine expecting people to eat bugs, but yet they do. Oh, the World Economic Forum is very keen for us to eat bugs. And I remember watching a video. Did you see it of the renowned actress Nicole Kidman? Did you see that? Nicole Kidman. Oh, hang on a second. Before we get to Nicole Kidman, Chris Davies is indicating it's 1 o'clock. He knows it's a Monday, but he's in a holiday mood. Well, Chris, I do hope you have a lovely holiday, by the way, and in Barcelona. And I hope they do have the power back on for you. But back to Nicole Kidman. I saw a video of her a couple of years ago. Actually, well, she looked to be eating the insects. Maybe it was, CGI or whatever. I don't know. But that was all. That was all a grift. Oh yes, it's very normal to want to eat insects. It's really, really not normal to eat insects. Top tip: try not to eat insects if you possibly can. Although they can now use sort of grinded up insect as an ingredient in certain foods. So do watch out for that one. So you might think you're staying away from the insects, but actually, there's big vested interest in getting us on a nice insect diet, whereas I prefer my beef and my chicken and nice fresh vegetables. That's what I like. James Jameson is telling me India and China are building hundreds of coal power stations a year. Absolutely. And what are we doing? Well, we're decommissioning ours. We're going to live on apparently, unicorn gas. Maybe what is going to apparently power the UK. I mean, it's really all quite serious because Miliband, if he gets what he wants, we will deindustrialize, believe you me, and there will be power cuts. And, another thing, just to finish on this, because this is one of my favorite hobby horses at the moment, AI, indeed, super AI is one of my hobby horses. So AI, which is all the rage, baby, it's all the rage. AI is very energy intensive. And yeah, this is a story I put out on Super AI, the rise of the AI bot students. Did you know that in California, in the community colleges in California, 25% of the students that are enrolled are AI bots? They're AI bots that have been trained to they can. You go online, you enroll in the course, right? You hand in your course notes, you do your work, so you look from an online point of view as if you're real, but you're not. And then what happens? You get a tasty grant from the you get a grant, like 7.5 grand per student, and then they run off with it. Basically, it's a criminal thing that they're doing, obviously, but this is the power of AI. In 2024, 25% of students, and community colleges in California, that they're bots. They're not people. They're not people. And this is because of the rise of AI. Now, Keir Starmer talks about the importance of the UK becoming an AI superpower, but we can't because AI uses high levels of energy. We have the most expensive energy in the world. It doesn't work. It won't work. And then you get the super AI, which those education bots sort of are, and then it goes even way beyond that. So it is a crazy story, that one. Yeah, 25% of students in Californian community colleges doing coursework, completing their work, are actually AI bots. Yeah, they don't exist, but they do it online. Again, if you read my article, there's some things that can be done to mitigate this. Most naturally would be do an interview with them face to face. That'll soon sort them out. But yeah, it's huge amounts of money. And of course, in California, people talk about California as being, it's this wonderful, it's the world's fifth biggest economy as a state. But look at that. You got bots. And if those bots can fool them online in California, do you think the bots can fool other places online as well? This is the scary thing about AI. I think it's wonderful, and also it could be the best thing humanity does, and it could be the thing that destroys humanity. But never mind super artificial intelligence. You've had to put up with my intelligence, or lack of, for the last 60 minutes or so. So look, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm sorry our guest didn't turn up, but there we go. We've managed to shoot the breeze. And if nothing else, I've hopefully scared you about what's going on in California education, where the AI bots have risen up and they can't tell them from people online anyway. And yeah, Angela says, "Are you a robot?" I'm not. No, I'm not a robot. No, it's all human. This blood, flesh and blood. But anyway, look, guys, thank you so much for being here, and thank you all the wonderful comments. As always, love it when you come along and you leave your comments. And thanks very much for being here for the past hour. I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening. But don't forget, I do a live show on a Thursday night at 8 o'clock with Jed and all the gang, and we have great chat. So that's a good occasion to come along and be part of it as well. But from myself for tonight, it's good night.